Okay, we are recording. Hey everyone, thanks for coming to the water cooler. Occasionally I fill in for Titan here. I don't do as good a job as he does, but I try my best. Um, I will start with introductions and start with myself. I am Papa Bear. I've been running the solar farm Orchestrator since July of last year. And the topic I had today, not actually, I guess I know everyone here is a regular, so I don't have to explain this, but we'd like to have a topic if you have one. Um, is now with ETH mining over, I am seeing, a few ETH miners that seem to have kind of popped up in the Discord, and a lot of the same type of questions coming up that, about how much am I going to make? What do I need? I wanted to bring that up later and talk about maybe if we can make a list of things that maybe we can make a document that we can just kind of point them to so we don't have to just continually answer the same questions over and over again. Um, so that's my number one topic, and if it gets slow, I have a couple of backups. So uh, that's what I've got for now, and I will turn this over to Ben. Do you want to tell
Sure.
us who you are?
Hey
What,
guys.
got anything on your mind?
Yes, sir. Been running my nodes since November last year. Topic for today would be the LAX ingest node. Since it's back up and running, was just curious if anyone's been seeing some sticky streams there. It's been pretty choppy on my end, but I'm not sure if that's just because I have a remote T there.
It's a good question, and I also am running a remote T there, so I might not be able to speak from having a combined one, but I can tell you at least what I'm seeing. So thank you, Ben, and let's move it over to Pon. Pon, what you got for us today?
Evening, everyone. Just a quick one. I'm Pon, by the way. I've been running my own orchestrator since April this year. Topic for today: we see a lot of testing streams coming through. If everyone's gonna look at their logs, basically what's happening, I'm seeing only choppy streams constantly for last week, basically. So I'm not getting anything constant. So jumping from nothing like 0 streams to 5 streams and back to nothing in a matter of couple of minutes. Just wondering, is anyone else seeing anything similar to that?
It seems like that ties in with Ben's topic, so we may start with that. So yeah, hang tight, and we will definitely we will discuss that real shortly. Eric, do you want to just give us a little something about yourself, and are you hanging out, or are you got a topic for today?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Eric. I'm a core contributor here at LivePeer, working closely with the community. I don't really have a topic today. I do just want to mention there's 2 days left to vote for the proposal submitted by Virus. We have achieved quorum, so the vote is good, but you still have a chance to have your voice heard. So definitely check out that voting page on Explorer if you haven't yet.
Thank you. Asia, do you want to give us a quick little introduction, and if you have anything you want to talk about?
Hi there. Yes, my name is Asia. I am also a core contributor on the LivePeer team, and I am really here today just to listen in and hang out. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you got anything on your mind.
Sure. So hi, I'm Alex. I'm also on the LivePeer core team. My day-to-day is as a TPM with a core focus on orchestrators. I've been running a node of my own for a little under a year now. And yeah, I'm mostly going to be listening. And I like your topic on mining because I've seen some really interesting stuff happen. Also in terms of like these edge GPU providers. So I have some stuff to mention there. Yeah, and then also I've been working on improving some memory efficiency on a project that Evan has been working on that makes generating stable diffusion images on GPUs with Livepeer running on the same instance possible. And I found a blog that some researcher put together that basically doubles performance and improves the memory efficiency of Stable Diffusion, which is cool because it makes it possible to do more with this as sort of a potential avenue with Livepeer. But yeah, that's it for me.
I have a quick question for you. What do you mean by what is edge CPU provider? What do you mean by that? Did
Oh,
you say
Edge
GPU?
GPUs.
GPU. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote CPU, and I'm like that doesn't not what you said. What do you mean by edge GPU provider? Like what are you?
So there's scant plans basically at a completely unknown date, so backlogged clearly, to in time create avenues for orchestrators to monetize spare GPU cycles as orchestrators um, for either use cases direct to Livepeer ideally or just as GPU compute.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I gotcha.
yeah, well, it's been interesting to see, like, and it ties into your topic actually, because since ETH mining is no longer a thing, and since at this point GPU mining in general is just basically not profitable, there's a much larger spread of where people are potentially looking to, you know, provide all these GPUs they still have. So
That's actually really interesting. I know it's far off, but I definitely want to hear more about that. Um, well, let's start with I think it's similar. Well, maybe one's a little bit more direct, but Ben and Pon's topic of sticky streams. Um, Ben, so you're saying in LA, are you not seeing sticky streams? That's your, I'm assuming from the way you asked.
Yeah, LA seems pretty choppy for me. But I have, in general, my stream count's been pretty high. I definitely haven't been having the same issue as Pawn. That to me sounds like something is wrong with your infrastructure, and like you shouldn't be going from 0 to 10 and then back to 0 or 0 to 5 back to 0. It doesn't sound right. I know LivePeer Inc. is doing a lot of work right now trying to basically change up the whole way that ingest nodes operate and work. So I'm sure there are a bunch of test streams coming in, but that doesn't quite sound like my issue. For me, I'm just curious how others are finding LAX now that it's online. If you're seeing a bunch of streams there that are sticky, or if it's all choppy for everyone.
Just taking a look at my Grafana, it looks like over the last 24 hours, I've had about like 6 sticky-ish streams, but a lot of test streams coming in. Like where it'll spike up from, basically nothing to 5 for a little bit. And then from what I remember over the weekend looking at logs, it was a lot of like those 59 segment or the 147 segment streams. So um, that's what I've been seeing personally. I mean, I do run some transcoders for some other orchestrators, and I kind of keep an eye on just peeking over at the consoles on their transcoder sides, and I've seen some longer stuff coming in, but for the most part, what I'm seeing is a lot of the test streams coming in. So I don't see it as like the streams aren't working. I just see it more as like it seems to be more testing stuff going on.
Okay, cool.
Just that's again we're using a similar. I mean, I know we're both using the same orchestrator provider or hosting company, and then we're both being transcoded on the same machine. So um, may not give a full picture, but I'm seeing similar stuff to what you're seeing. Han, tell us
Yeah,
what's going on with you. Your stuff's just jumping all over the place, all over on all of them, on
yeah,
all your
my
nodes.
stuff is yeah, just jumping all over. To be honest, I was monitoring all my logs sitting last couple of days, just going through them. So, for example, I can get 2, 3, up to 4, like a test streams of 59 segments, 141 segment, as you said, or low bitrate test stream coming in. So we jump up, jumps to 4 streams, or I'm getting streams, and then suddenly we all disappear after we finish, like for a minute or something like that. Some of them even lower, and it just starts all over again.
And are you running combined orchestrator transcoders, or are you running split setups?
I'm running combined ones. So what I try to do, I used Portainer before, so I thought maybe there is a problem with that. So I took my couple of nodes off Portainer and started running binaries. So exactly the same thing happening. Tried a couple of different versions of binaries as well. So I'm not really sure. I just can't do anything.
So I missed that last part. Are you running the release binary, or are you running some of the newer like test stuff or
No. Just release
oh, okay.
0.34. Yeah,
Yeah, I would
I'm
say
not trying.
overall, I would say work is, I mean, how long has this been going on for you, Pon?
For about a week now.
Yeah, that's really interesting because over the last week, I would say traffic's been up quite a bit from where it was before that. So um, I don't have an answer for you other than to say that I kind of agree with Ben. You like there may be something with your setup that you want to. I mean, I don't know what to recommend, but and I'm not just talking about just stuff's been up for me. Just looking at all the public dashboards, it seems like most people have had a fairly significant increase in work over the last pretty much the last week, maybe 5 days. Um, hmm. Ben, do you have any ideas, or Alex, or anyone that's running a node?
Not really. I mean, it might just be a stake thing, or I don't know. Even I've seen Ryan Night Node has been doing really well. It just it's to me it seems like the way they're distributing work right now it seems different to what it was a couple of months ago. Maybe I'm just looking too into it, but it seems like they're changing the way work is distributed. Uh, for example, varies. I haven't seen him hit the highs he usually hits in the last 4 or 5 days. And I've seen other orchestrators start getting a lot more traffic. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
can't really go into
oh,
specifics, but um, there's also been a lot of really pointed region-specific testing going on recently. Um, so that may be part of this. But then again, you know, there are a number of factors that could be causing this. But yeah, if it's spotty and you didn't change anything, I'd chalk that up more to like specific kinds of testing going on. And then if you alter things and it's still like that, then maybe get some context around it and then push a PR or context someone at Livepeer.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of orchestrators who don't run near ingest nodes have been seeing a pretty massive uptick in traffic as well. Like right now, for Kunzman has a node in Poland, and he's just killing it. And Elite has one node in North Carolina, and he's killing it as well. So it just seems
And
like
and what do you mean by, so you're saying they only run one ingest node or they run multiple?
Elite just runs one O/T in a house, and for Kunzman has a few spread around.
I was well, watching Elite, and then we actually had a little conversation with him, actually with Ben, and yeah, I don't know how he's getting so much traffic in that single location. He does have a decent amount of stake, but he has been, yeah, he had a really good weekend, and it wasn't like just like, oh, the payment probability has kind of been catching up with him, or I mean, he seems to be
He's had like
holding
a
a
good
lot of
few
streams.
months. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
what it's showing is this whole like have a node by every ingest node or have like 10 nodes geolocated is not necessarily what LivePeer is optimized for. And you can actually get a really good amount of work if you have one optimized node. And that's really good news.
was actually one of my other topics, talking about latency and how important is it now versus in the past. I don't know if Alex would be able to talk about this if he knows stuff about it, or if this is, but uh, I, I guess in the past, at least from my understanding, the best I could get was like there were, I think there was 8 orchestrators that were put into the active set, uh, working set, and then from that group, then there was a stake weighted selection made, or it would be or a random selection. So, but recently I've been hearing that that now the pool can be an unlimited size as long as the orchestrator responds within a certain time. Is there anything you can comment on that, Alex, or anything you know about that?
Not that I've been aware of recently, but I can definitely ask.
Yeah, and I did look at the code, and I mean, I'm not a coder, but the last update I saw to the code was in November. So I guess, I mean, it wouldn't be anything like, super recent. I mean, wow, it's almost a year now. It's hard to believe, but so I mean, the code doesn't look like it's had any updates since then. Where at least during the time where I thought it was a number of 8, and maybe it wasn't exactly 8, but I thought it was 8. Um, so
Yeah, no, I can. I mean, to my knowledge, nothing major has changed, but yeah, I can definitely ask.
yeah, that would be interesting to just to know. Because I think it was Marco that was saying that now as long as you respond within like I don't remember the exact time, but maybe it was like within a second or something like that, then you're eligible for work. And I was just wondering if that is the case, then how does that? Um, I guess then there's a whole bunch of questions that would come from that as far as just having such a big pool, and then it would kind of almost change the way it works as far as like, I mean, it seems like if you've got that many orchestrators to choose from, you're never going to get to that point where you don't have, a big enough number where you're going to then do a reselection process, for each
Right.
job, which maybe doesn't matter, but just little thoughts that went along that way. And it seems like there's always been, even though it's all open source, it still seems like for some reason it's this mystery on how this selection process works. um, but um, but yeah, I mean, just any clarity on that, I think would be just always appreciated by the orchestrator community in general.
Definitely,
Uh,
definitely. I'll ping Yondon soon, and I can ask, and he'll probably have a really distinct answer as well. So I'll see
yeah, I
what I
think
can get.
yeah, that would be awesome. Just to have like just kind of some clarity on like maybe like a real like brief of like here's how it works, in English, not like here's the code, because I've looked through it, and again, not being a coder, I get a rough idea, but it doesn't look like it's really. I mean, again, it hasn't changed since November, so I'm not sure where that new info was coming from, but
Cool.
and then let's see. I'm sorry. So pawn. I don't know what to tell you there. But it does seem like something's definitely going on that now you would be seeing lower streams when pretty much everyone else that at least all the public dashboards have all had seen a significant increase over the last week or so.
Honestly, I think I tried it out everything by now. The only thing that's left is load balancer, so I use Cloudflare. But in all fairness, me and Marco are running the same orchestrator from the same location. Stake is nearly identical as well, and he's getting way more work than I do. And his stream seems to be sticky, and mine isn't. So that's why it's changed from Portainer to binaries just to try it out, and I thought I'll give it a go.
You mean
So,
Docker, right? I mean, Portainer's just
Docker,
the
yeah,
just the
sorry,
UI.
Docker.
I mean, and for what it's worth, I have nodes that are running in Docker and running binaries and even in Windows, and I'm not seeing any difference in any of them as far as the work goes. Like that, oh, this one doesn't seem to be doing as well as that one. They all seem to be performing, on par with where I would, with each other. So I don't think that it's a Docker issue, personally.
No, no, no. I just was eliminating things, so trying all the
Yeah,
different things,
for
moving and
sure.
going from one to another. So I'm just gonna put myself down as being very unlucky one and getting all the test streams for you guys.
Well, there definitely are a lot of test streams coming in, but it is odd that you would drop down to, be dropping down to almost to nothing a lot, just considering the amount of work. The other thing that I've noticed is kind of what Ben was talking about, that sometimes um, it's better just to have a single node, especially for troubleshooting. You might want to just push all your work, or at least to like to one node or to two nodes, maybe one for the US and one for the EU. I don't know how many you have running, but and just see if that has any kind of effect on it. Maybe there's just some weird routing going on, or double check that that when you ping something from a
Yeah, it's
certain area.
actually it's a really good test in general. Just to disable all of your geolocation and just route to one node and see how you perform.
All right, I can give it a go. I tried to take out LAX off from my load balancing as well, so that didn't seem to make a difference.
I haven't had much luck just taking things out, but like Ben was saying, maybe even just like get rid of the geo DNS and go direct just to a single node, just as as a test if you've run out of all options. It's probably the
Yeah, I'd
last thing
be
I would want to do, but
yeah,
it's something that's
I'd be
it,
very curious to see if everything stays exactly the same, if you get less test streams or if you actually get more work.
All right, I might give it a go tonight.
well, report back to us and let us know in chat, and I'm curious to know too. We see we have Mike Zuper joining us. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself and if do you have any topic or anything you want to discuss today?
Hey y'all, Mike Zuper, running Zodap Orchestrator since February 2022. Um, no topic per se, just kind of took a break from LivePeer for a few days, so just trying to see what's going on again.
Everything's completely changed. It's a whole new thing. You're gonna have to start over from the beginning. So no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, LivePeer only supports AMD cards now. Sorry.
All right. Maybe that was a little too inside just for Ben and me here, but all right. All right. Well, as always, good to have you here. And let's see. As far as topics go, we got the stream consistency. Oh, going back to my topic then. So with all these ETH. Oh, well, I guess and that also ties into Alex's Edge GPU stuff. But like, I guess from just to start off with, I've definitely seen some ETH miners, not as many as I would have expected, to be honest, popping up, with, I've got my 620, whatever, however many cards, how much am I going to make? What do I need to do? Um, is there like, I just think we could save ourselves a lot of time and also help these people out if we had just like a clear, concise, here's the things you need to know coming in. Like here's how like live peer mining, I'm doing in quotes, um, differs from proof of work, mining that you're probably used to. I mean, well, do you guys think that that's a good idea to have a document like that? I mean, it doesn't have to be an official one, but something that we can point to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I was gonna say like I'd probably point to Eric to this, and then one thing we're trying to do since we now have a new technical writer is solidifying some of the terminology that's kind of integral to this. So for instance, because there's like video mining, transcode,
Yeah.
and so I think like that's at one initial point people get tripped up on who, I mean, for no fault of their own, just don't have a lot of context going in, or are just asking like, can I mine this? Because I think a lot of people get confused when they're like, oh, can I mine this? And you're like, well, no, you can be an orchestrator, and then if you're an orchestrator, you can transcode. And then with this thing called probabilistic micropayments, you can maybe
Yeah.
at the right flip of a coin, and then you've lost them like 3 seconds in. So I think, yeah, Eric is probably the best point of kind because he owns most of this now. But obviously, technically, I can backfill this as much as possible. But yeah, Eric, do you have any comments on this? Maybe as like a pin thing in the Discord, or that's who I'd yield to for this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching kind of the inflow of people asking the same kind of questions. That there's definitely a need for some kind of FAQ for you know lost ETH miners who have found their way to LivePeer. So it's definitely something I can put on my list to look into getting going. Would definitely need support from all of you on that, as from the technical end. That's certainly not my forte. But I can help facilitate anything kind of on the community front, answering those questions, getting that fact put together, having it live in an area that is easily accessible for people joining. These are all things I'm more than happy to help facilitate for the community. So we can work on this together for sure.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think a few of us can get together and get some words down on paper. I think the biggest one, like Alex said, is kind of removing the term video miner from LivePeer because that seems to really confuse people.
Yeah, I
Just
do agree
having a
on
clear glossary, right? Just having a clear glossary that says this is what this means.
Yep.
And one of the things that also I think is important to add to that is kind of comparing or at least pointing out what the differences are between ETH mining and live peer mining. Because I also, I'm in, live pool too, so I see a lot of people come in there who are ready because that's kind of like it's a first stop kind of thing where people come and they're used to being in pools, ETH miners, so a lot of them show up there and um, they're basically like I've got this many cards and I'm ready to go, and it's just explaining to them that it's not how many cards you have, that's it's a demand based supply and demand, you know I don't know, protocol is the right word, but uh, the way it works is just there are definitely big differences in what to expect, and how, and then people are like, well, my thing says now I'm waiting for segments. Now what is it broken? And and I know that that's the pool versus orchestrating, but there are definitely some there's definitely some overlap there in my opinion. So um, I don't. What do you think the best way to go about like having us all meet? Would it be to like maybe have just a chat specifically to this at some point, Eric, to get you the info, or
Well,
should
I
like
don't
or
think Eric necessarily needs to spend that time. I think a few of us can just hop on a call and bang out an FAQ, and then we can maybe share it with the community and see if anything needs to be changed.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
definitely.
sounds good.
I'm happy. I'm happy to support you all however I can for that. If you get on a meeting and you feel like you want me to be there just to listen in, I'm happy to do that. But certainly, I won't be I won't be of much help in defining your FAQ. But once it's ready, if you want a set of eyes on it and kind of we can talk about how we want to post that, where we want to put it, where how we can make it so it's easily available for people that are joining the server. I am planning some Discord enhancements in the next little while, so we can definitely bake this into those enhancements. So I think it's a great idea. Let me know what you need from me. Just send me a message anytime, and I'm here to help.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Sweet.
All right. Let's see. What am I? I'm not as organized as Titan here, so I'm just. Have I
What was
missed?
the? You said there
Oh,
was an edge GPU topic. What
oh,
was
oh
that? What's
yeah.
that all
Sorry.
about?
Yeah. Alex, do you want to just explain that to Mike so I don't butcher your what you said?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I found a blog post from this researcher who was working on increasing the memory efficiency of stable diffusion, like in pretty significant ways. In certain ways where you could just improve efficiency and get performance gains, or in other ways where you could reduce memory use and retain like basically the current level of performance that most people see with stable diffusion. Um, so the idea is seeing how, like, if you have two Docker containers doing GPU things, if that's catastrophic, if one of those containers is doing live peer things, or if it kind of works. And right now it's a mix of both, mostly on the edge of like this causing containers to crash, because obviously the NVIDIA APIs right now on consumer GPUs are not great when it comes to scheduling GPU resources. Interestingly, even though they're using different like core compute components, the like sharing memory side seems to be something that they've not really looked into a ton. So I've just been looking into this, and this is like definitely, just so everyone knows, a backlogged feature path for LivePeer. But nonetheless, it's something that a lot of people who have GPUs on LivePeer are kind of leaving a lot of hardware that's on the network that's not really being utilized per se. So
And
interesting
Yeah,
findings.
that's
Just
one way. I was thinking about the same thing the other day. Just like, how can you get idle hardware where it's in this live peer waiting for segment state, as Papa Bear was saying, and start to like put more workloads that are different on the same hardware. Like, and that stable diffusion one is really good. But are there any other ways of doing it? Is that the only way?
I mean,
Yeah,
could there be
so
like,
it's what's curious is I've been in pretty close contact with TensorDoc, because they have a host program now, and it's curious because you'd think like most of the challenge to generalizing this would just be GPU centric, and really it's more of a function of memory on the host itself, like you've just system memory, and then how you encapsulate it. So for instance, like if you're like, yeah, just deploy a model anywhere, like that gets pretty complex, and the security angle of that also gets pretty messy, because it's hard to guarantee that if you just give someone a VM, even if you've tried pretty hard to lock it down, like there are a lot of ways to escape that. And obviously,
Oh
it's like
yeah,
it's an
VMs are
engineering
not the
challenge. You like
answer.
yeah, I mean, it's an engineering challenge. You also like Livepeer just doesn't have the bandwidth to really look at now. Like I think the closest you'd get is saying when you're installing Livepeer, like when you're installing Ubuntu, you could probably check per se. And this is not in planning. This is not even being worked on. So it's just a caveat. But there could be a whitelisted set of compute operations. So say like stable diffusion could be one, right? Or classification of video or live transcription. So there could be like 3 or 4 use cases that are not too heavy that we know they have a really good idea of memory use, which could be cool that you could expose and then say like, yeah, like some of your payments might come from this, or your compute may be occasionally, you know, used by this. But that's definitely way off in the future. And at this point, it's like I've been trying to understand how varied the memory bounds on some of this stuff are. Because right now, that's the one overlap that would negatively impact like the compute going on live here. Because for instance, like most of what you guys watch, or one big metric is like GPU memory utilization, and then most of this AI stuff, like it's live here isn't using the GPU most of the time, really at all. So the major limiting factor is just GPU memory, um, which is interesting because right now, although we don't have great metrics on this, the consensus is that most of the hardware on the Livepeer network is on the lower end with less memory. And yeah, and granted, this is an extrapolation from who has like VP7 support, and the assumption is that most GPUs from NVIDIA that actually support that probably have more than 6 gigs of memory. Granted, that's still like a major napkin math kind of
and like
a
when you get into
supposition,
like
but
that machine learning stuff, I mean, I was, I know they those things can suck up a lot of memory. We're running video stuff, and that's, part of the reason, partly why we, the network is so full of, older cards, because they actually are performing better at the video encoding side of it. But I'm sure that if, down the road this was something that came up, there would be people. Well, I mean, even me, for example, I've got 30 series cards that I still have from ETH mining that are just sitting around, and I don't even have them running right now. But I would throw them on. I mean, they're most of them are still relatively low spec, but at least they have the the compute power. And I would imagine that, going down the road, that there would be um, use case where for people with, heavier and beefier graphics cards, especially now that they're getting to be more reasonably priced.
oh,
So
definitely, definitely.
yeah,
And that's the intent. And then like, for me putting my TPM hat on, so you guys know, and so it's like, okay, this is great. Alex, the TPM guy doing orchestrator stuff, he's playing with stable diffusion on GPUs that there are no features for. But what the impetus of this is so I can figure out what like the initial challenges technically would be to even have a demo of this, which for now is, can you safely run like one memory hard task, in concert with Livepeer, and like how could you gauge that one? And then the other is like, what's interesting is there are a lot of people, at least on YouTube and then a few other platforms, who will they predominantly have audio content and they have issues with retention. And what's really interesting is the way a lot of them solve this, and you're seeing it now, especially with podcasts on YouTube, is they'll generate some kind of dynamic content with Dolly or Midjourney and then just insert video in it somewhere. So basically, it's like an interesting thing to look at and then just place their audio on top of it. And so they're just completing that work to improve engagement because it's someone listening to something who's like, oh, look, like pretty pictures while I'm listening to something I actually want to listen to. So it would be interesting if you could say like, yeah, like upload to LensTube and then to reduce your workload, like pay $1 and have some kind of cool visual applied over your audio. Or if you just want to do audio and you don't want to do video, like here's like a dollar amount per second that will just generate something cool based on your prompt. Um, and just have that wrapped into like a live peer. And granted, this is very, very, very high level. Like a lot of this might never happen, but it could be a cool thing to look into. So that's kind of how I've spent a bit of time with that. So you guys can have some insight there.
Awesome. So it sounds like next week we'll be able to use this, right? So, um, no, but I think that definitely is a very interesting potential use case. So I'd like to see that.
Definitely. Well, and one last, so and this is only relevant because I've been messing around with the private beta of TensorDoc's host program, which is basically the idea that they'll find people who used to mine that have GPUs and a really good internet connection, and who can then provide those to their network. So someone can spin up a VM on an edge somewhere for 30 cents an hour, and have a GPU and 100 gigs of storage. And it's interesting because like in their setup when you're green lighting your node, it gives you a list of nodes they suggest you open. And it's funny because now, and they added this recently, but now they have like 8935 on there live peer. So like, yeah, like someone might be interested in spending a little bit of money on an edge instance, and then yeah, like open up this port because someone might use it for this. So I thought that was funny.
Well, I know there definitely are quite a few works that are using TensorDoc, and so I guess it makes sense.
Definitely. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's it for mine.
been watching TensorDoc's marketplace. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on their uptime and see what kind of hosts they bring in.
I recently joined their I don't use them, but I joined their Discord, and I thought it was interesting that they were saying that they were looking for people with they can get that have 4090s, and one of the main reasons was because they wanted they needed the memory. Like the 480 wasn't interesting to them. It was like we need the memory. They're like even for a lot of the jobs they want to get that doesn't have enough memory for them. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know. I mean, I don't work machine learning, but I was like, wow, I didn't realize how big a lot of those models are. I mean, it makes sense thinking about it, but it's just something I've never thought about before.
Yeah, I can't believe those guys are high schoolers. Those are some smart freaking high schoolers. Goddamn.
Yeah, their dev team's really young.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sharp.
Um, Right. Well, yeah, that's some really interesting stuff, Alex. I know it's far off, but I'm still excited. Still excited to hear it, and I hope it does come to fruition. At least it's some level of it.
Thanks. Yeah,
Um,
no worries.
I just wanted to say I see we have a trans mental here. Did you want to say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself? If you're still here. No. If you want to jump in at some point, if you're busy, just pop in. Um, all right. Did I miss anyone's topics here? Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to bring up?
Yeah, not really. I would just reinstate that it seems like you can run one or two nodes really efficiently now, and you don't really have to run one on at every ingest node. So I know things are LPT is the price of it is going down, participation rate is going up. So for those who are worried about cutting back, you can do it and still maintain your stream count.
And it's actually interesting that I actually have that as a as a backup question if it got slow in here. So you've stolen my backup question. Is how important is latency now compared to
The real question
what it
is,
was?
what are the key factors, right? What are the key factors? If you want it to be a single node and be able to maintain stream count, what are the key factors in terms of hardware specs and bandwidth and all the different variables that make that effective? Like that's
Right.
probably an area where we could spend
Well,
some
we
time
can,
talking.
yeah, we can use Elite as a good example. I mean, 1 gig fiber, he's got great latency. He's using medium to high end spec AMD build, CPU wise for his PC. He runs his own ARB node. Everything's out of a house, and he kills it, crushes it.
This is
Yeah.
elite or
Elite encoder,
Elite, yeah,
yeah,
and
cool. Do you know what kind of GPU he's I mean, it doesn't matter, but
yeah,
yeah.
I was
he's got.
curious.
Oh, Ben, I'll let you answer that. But yeah.
No, Papa, you can take that one.
All right. Well, I know currently he's got two 1070s running and he's got a 1080 that he wants to add in, but maybe Ben, you might know more about this, but he says that when he adds the 1080 in, his performance goes down for some reason, and
Yeah,
I didn't pick
he
up on what was going on there because I was only kind of tuning in and out of that
right. He's
conversation.
been noticing when he runs anything as a remote T, even on the same network, if it's on a separate box, streams get pretty choppy for him, which is interesting. But if everything's on the same box, it's a lot more optimal.
Interesting. I bet there's a weird like networking reason for that. But also like as I've been messing around with a lot of these AI packages that are built around Torch and CUDA, um, you could like NVIDIA drivers are actually way messier than you'd think they are. So it does not surprise me that, especially when you're mixing driver versions, and especially when you're bridging like a virtualization um, boundary, that like stuff might get kind of weird. Like works, but in terms of like being optimal, might be kind of weird.
Yeah, and I know another thing he's been working on is connecting fiber directly to his machines instead of it going through Ethernet. And I don't really know too much about this stuff, but I believe it's a NIC or something. You stick in the on a PCIe lane, and you can plug a fiber line into
That
your.
is yeah, that is interesting. I have not talked to people about the like inter-node bottlenecks. Yeah, because I wonder if like just having a level 3 router would clear up, so because then basically you can put all the machines you care about on the same VLAN or on the same plane of things that you like, basically, so they're the only people talking in that room, and then they can reach out to the internet when they need to. Um,
He
but
actually,
Mike
I think
Stepper
that is
probably
how
knows way more about this than I do. But
Yeah, I think that's how I'm running as well. But I just fumble around and plug stuff in and configure things that I shouldn't. I don't know if I'm using level 3 or what. But I have a UDM Pro, and that offers a lot of functionality like that.
awesome. Yeah, I want to ping Elite now about some of these things
Yeah,
because
he's
I've
been
tried
doing.
stuff and had like mixed results as well. But
Yeah,
I'll-
commercial hardware or consumer hardware for networking if you're running at home is no good. You have to have something, enterprise commercial grade routers or, different networks. So if he's running fiber, that's definitely not, consumer grade stuff. So that in itself is probably a huge reason why he's getting those benefits.
Yeah,
definitely. Well,
but
and
also
what's crazy is
I was gonna
no, go
say,
ahead, Papa
I
Bear.
mean, I just wonder, like, I mean, I'm gonna assume that his router's, fairly close to the computers. I mean, do you think that there's that much advantage to, having a fiber connection to your router from, if it's only going a couple feet?
Uh, Kind of depends. I mean, like, really, it's about the same.
Milliseconds matter, right?
I mean,
Yeah, like,
we got to be sub-millisecond. I mean, like beyond
yeah,
Well,
like,
the other
sub-milliseconds,
part too
because
is the IO speed, right? Everything's a series of pipelines, right? So if any one chain in the link is broken, meaning you have a slow hard drive or you have a slow network card or you have a slow internet pipe or you have, anything along that pipeline, if one of them's slow, the whole thing becomes governed by that one chain. So, and again, I think Elite has spent a significant amount of time looking at every layer, you know, from his ISP into his home network. And I think he spent a lot of time, which is why he's getting those benefits. Because if you have that, it's invaluable, but it's very difficult to replicate. It's very time consuming. But again, it's a series of specialized tests all the way across. I mean, he described some of that stuff in the last chat we had, and I mean, I was just like, holy crap, dude! Like, you're just like way in there, man. He's like going down roads that nobody's been down with NVIDIA. Being able to change his fan speed on the fly, without it causing disruptions in service. I mean, he's real deep into this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, I would probably attribute that to more of a routing speed up, and then probably just like if you could segregate traffic coming from an ARB node, and like dirtying up a buffer that your router is looking at as the like packets I should route next. Like if you could just have those on two different VLAN, I mean, that's probably. And I don't know, but I off the top of my head, I think well that would make a lot of sense. But then again, like using fiber, I mean, you get a lot of bandwidth improvements, but in terms of latencies, actually sometimes fiber is worse than direct connections because you have transceivers.
Right. Yeah.
And then also like Mike said, like enterprise hardware, it is pretty incredible, even in just like prosumer stuff, how much better it is. And Ben, I know you have a UDM Pro. I guess I've had really mixed experience with Ubiquity stuff, but I still have a lot of it, but they like
Yeah,
obfuscate a lot of it.
I've been on support with them for like the last 2 weeks. I'm having this really strange issue with the UDM Pro where the latency just seems really inconsistent. But if I plug the server directly into my gateway, it's perfect. So like something is going on with that router, and I don't know what the hell it is, but I'm trying to figure that out. There's
But
definitely stuff that's not great.
but yeah, but it also like kind of isn't great that once you shouldn't have to spend $600 on a router to not have bloatware. Well, not even bloatware, just like good implementations of some of this stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I have a lot of interesting questions for Elite now. Glad we got into this.
Yeah, he's got, like Mike was saying, he's spent a lot of time. I mean, from having hard drives on the connected directly to the GPU versus a South Bridge, and transcoding to one drive, and doing other system on the different. And I mean, he's really gone deeper than I think probably anyone as far as optimizing that setup. And I mean, it does seem to be working. I don't know which parts of it are the most important, but he's had some really good results recently.
Elite is awesome. All you guys are awesome. I mean, like all the support's been great. Thank you guys.
Hell yeah.
Definitely helped us understand the network and how it works a lot better in the past week or so.
A lot of good guys here, but yeah, Elite is definitely one of the.
He even spun up his transcoder on mainnet for us to use on our development environment to check and make sure our configs were correct, and that was awesome.
He's a good guy for sure.
Yeah, he's doing some tests with Netint. I always have a hard time saying that, but those other cards as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those do when you use it on a beefier machine with more memory.
Alex, didn't you grab some of those too, or am I confusing you with someone else?
No, I did, and it improved a lot. Like it's unfortunate they're so expensive, and what is definitely not great is Intel might actually discontinue them because they've discontinued the RAM, the Optane RAM, which was very interesting for like other reasons we don't have to get into. And
Wait, are we talking about the same thing? Because you're talking about Intel.
Yeah,
We're talking
Optane SSDs. Yeah.
But is that tie into the NetInt?
Oh no,
yeah,
that is different. That is different.
yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, so what Ben was talking about was that that Elite's been also messing around with the NetInt cards, and I know there's a lot of. He was talking about that there's a lot of new firmware versions that have come out that have improved
Oh,
performance,
interesting.
but he hasn't gotten deep into it yet. But he said he wants to compile some compile a new version of LivePeer and or at least a working version that uses some of the. I guess he said when you compile it, it needs to be to a specific firmware. So he needs to recompile and see how the new firmware is working. And I forgot what he was saying the new firmware was supposed to offer, but maybe better performance or. But yeah, he's just got a lot on his plate. So.
Oh, for sure. That's it. Because I had mine plugged in for a while, and I ran into a weird hardware bug where they would their temperature profile to be turned off by the kernel was treated like an SSD. So like technically they can run pretty hot, and then the kernel was saying like, oh, they're over 40 Celsius, so like that's the trigger temperature.
That
And
should not be. I would hope not.
so it was, which was probably something it was probably something I did. So I just need to get around to to using them. They were really cool. Don't get me wrong. But yeah,
And I
I
know in his
talked to my
first
friend
test,
about that.
he wasn't like blown away at all by the performance he was getting out of them. But
Yeah, but I think he thinks a big reason of that is just because it relies so heavily on system memory.
that
Yeah,
is.
I was wondering. Go ahead. Sorry, guys.
No, I was just saying they don't have memory on board, so you do need to have a fairly beefy system compared to what you would need to run an NVIDIA setup. But
Which to me I thought was crazy. Like when I realized that, because like we were talking to one of their reps at one point in Amsterdam, and I was like, oh yes, how much memory do they have? And they're like, oh no, they just use system memory. And I was like, that's a more expensive resource than if you just put chips. And then eventually, like we figured out that the only reason they did that was so they could make them in both a PCI version and an M.2 form factor and have the same hardware. And otherwise they're like, yeah, we thought about putting it on chip, but like, otherwise, meh. And the issue is like, we don't have to get into this, but for me, kicking back to my like half of an EE degree, I was thinking like that's so bizarre because if the intent is for this to save use of space in a data center, like it is so much more expensive to have a 1U box with a ton of memory and you know 8 M.2 slots. Like at some point you're defeating the whole point of making this smaller and less power efficient, or in more power dense.
I
So
was looking earlier, and I closed the page now. But I saw something where they were able to get 192, at least what they claim, 192 1080p 60 frame per second uh, streams out of a 1U server rack, and I was like, damn, that's a lot.
and I guess I just wonder
And I think it
what
said they
kind
were
of
using
DIMMs they were using because that's
yeah, and I could have sworn it. I mean, and again, I should try and pull it up here real quick, but um, I think it said that they're like at least on it was like a super micro box, and it's I think the spec on it, maybe I'm combining two different things, but I think it said it was only using 32 gigs of RAM. I was like, that doesn't seem possible, but
Really? I
yeah,
would think it
yeah,
needs like a terabyte for that. Jeez.
oh yeah.
yeah, no,
Maybe I was doing something wrong, or maybe this was their new their AV1 transcoder that maybe has some onboard memory, but yeah, no, like the memory requirements were kind of crazy. Um,
find it here.
but
Application
huh.
live video streaming. Let's see, I just quickly see if I can pull this up here. I looked down at their partners page and then I saw Supermicro and clicked on that and it was like 192 things in a 1U. I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's some density right there. Regardless of how much RAM you have to stick in that thing. That's and I think they were saying it was using like 1 watt per stream or something like that. Okay, Supermicro. Let's see what their spec was here. So you can do 8K. But so they're saying get 192 broadcast quality 1080p 60 frames per second live streams in a 1RU Supermicro, and then they give the name of the server. Oh, I guess this one didn't have the memory here, so maybe I am combining two different servers that I looked at.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, still impressive that you could get that many transcodes going on a 1U system. Oh, you know what it was? There's a brief, and I think that had more specs on it. So let's see here. Sorry if this is boring while I'm scrolling here. Let's see here. No, they don't give the the specs here, but I guess but that's still using 700 watts of power, which seems, I mean, at least they don't say how, they just says that it can handle 4 terabytes of memory, which I'm hoping you don't need that much, but
I wonder if it's probably an Epic box. That's what I guess.
it is an Epic box. Here, I can put, it's a PDF, but I can post
Oh,
this
awesome.
in the side chat if I can get back to that. Many tabs
No
open.
worries.
Um,
I do have to drop, but
okay.
I'm glad. Thanks for going through this stuff,
Oops.
Papa Bear, and
Oh
I'll
yeah,
talk to you
no.
guys on Discord or next week. But take care.
Oh, see you, Alex.
How's it going? Okay, let's see. How are we doing? Anyone got anything else they want to go over? I mean, or am I that efficient that I was able to get through a whole call in an hour where it takes Titan 2 hours to do this? What's going on here?
Yeah, that was good. Transmetal, are you still here?
Yeah, what's good? I'm over here
Any
figuring
sneak
figuring
peeks
something out.
into the new changes on Xenon when that comes back?
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of UI UX kind of fixes, some pretty fixes there, and I wish we could have the payment data displayed, but sadly Arbitrum Gorley doesn't have a subgraph yet for us. But when we go to mainnet, there'll be payment data, and then shortly after that, we'll actually have like dynamic data that kind of shows the stream thumbnail and the stream title for where your credits went and for what stream type of thing, which is exciting. But right now we're just kind of playing with our Catalyst config and our Orchestrator configuration. Recently found out that if you just point at one orc address, you're only going to use the transcoders that are associated with that one orc address. So we'll be going to mainnet with that completely open and not specifying any orc address. And Eli kind of confirmed that basically if you don't make any orc address specification, then it just defaults back to the best available transcoding options on the network. So I think we'll get really good results using that way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of my understanding.
Ideally, yeah, you'll have to keep an eye on that and let us know how that plays out.
Yeah,
There
I mean,
is
Music
a
to the
random
folks'
factor in there.
ears on this call, that's for sure. We
yeah,
definitely like to hear that.
that's what I told my boss is like, the Livepeer people will be happy about that one. We do want to partner with some orchestrator that has enough transcoding power for us at some point, or a couple orchestrators, because we kind of want to build out our own sort of like sub reward system on top. But right now I'm testing out like what our M3U8 files are returning from the stream endpoint. And it seems like testnet might not have a lot of transcoders. Like we're running our own and we see the transcoder receiving and accepting jobs and transcoding, but maybe like the M3U8 file that I'm looking at is only returning the source file, even though we're not specifying one orchestrator. So I'm kind of assuming that there might not be a lot of transcode power on the testnet.
I
Definitely not.
I think
Yeah.
you're right on that. There never has been a lot, but I think there's even less now
Okay,
than there
because
was in the
like
past. Yeah.
I just started 3 streams and they all went to our one transcoder. So I'm assuming that like we might be the only transcoder on the testnet right now. At least for
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes a difference whether it's through Catalyst or not, but
I had one up for a while, but it was just never getting, like, no one was ever hitting it, so I just took it down. But
right.
I could spin one up if you wanted to see what
Yeah,
happens
I
if
mean
they
if you
started
spin it
running.
up, I'm kind of just monitoring like on the M3U8, you know, it gives you the different resolutions, and we're kind of just want to test whether or not our player is auto switching those resolutions for us. We got it to work before when we had elite encoders transcoder running and we're pointing at his orchestrator. But the problem was it was like intermittent to where like the stream would play and auto select for a minute or two, and then it would like buffer forever because the transcoding like wasn't keeping up or was intermittent or something. But then Eli told me that if there's only one or two transcoders and one of them isn't keeping up fast enough, then that'll happen. But when you're using the entire network on mainnet, it should like switch from transcoder to transcoder as the power is needed.
That will be really interesting to test. Definitely, if you can drop us some info on that when you get around it, that'd be good to know how that performs.
Which aspect of that?
Switching from O to O, like while you're transcoding, if there's any like buffering that happens there, or if it's seamless.
Yeah, so I mean on the testnet, I guess there was probably nothing to switch to for us, but
Right.
like the M3U8 would return all four of the different resolutions that we requested from the transcoder, and then all of a sudden the stream would just stop, and I'd have to refresh, and then on the refresh, the stream would only, or the M3U8 would only be returning the source resolution, so kind of making the assumption that like some interruption in transcoding happened, and like Livepeer is now deciding to just return the source resolution for some reason.
So are you guys
Which
not using WebM anymore?
no, we switched. I'm the product owner for Xenon, and I kind of like we wanted to use WebM because of the low delay, but then after like doing some market research and watching a bunch of TikTok streams and Twitch streams and stuff, I realized that like 15 to 20-second delay isn't actually that big of a deal. It actually kind of gives the creator or the streamer a chance to like respond to chat while it's coming in.
Yeah, it makes
And
sense. WebM kind of seems very limiting, especially if you're trying to scale.
yeah, and the WebM, you just get caught buffering a lot, and you just aren't able to get transcoded HLS like M38. So it makes sense for us to kind of prioritize the viewing experience from like a no more buffering point of view. It's just I've gotten our player to auto switch before, but now that we have no orc address specified, even though we are getting the job into our transcoder, it's not giving us the different resolutions, just returning the source file. But it might just be because of the lack of having lots of transcoders, so it's maybe not fast enough, but I'm not sure. Not sure. So we're gonna
Still
test
seems like
on
it
mainnet
should.
at some point.
Yeah, it still seems like it should. I mean, as long as there's a transcoder there, it should. And you're telling it what profiles you want. It seems like it should be. It should
Yeah,
do
because
that. It
we
seemed like it
had
to me.
one broadcaster who was testing specifically with Papa Bear, who came in, Jarvis, and he was able to transcode, I believe, in multi profiles from just using one address.
Hmm.
Well, and just to be clear, weren't you able to do that too, Transmetal? But it was just if you had a restart, then that's when the issue came in.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
When we
Oh,
were pointing at the one orc address, we were getting the transcoded options in the M3U8 endpoint. But now we have it open, and it's not giving it to us. So we were not specifying any orc address now, and it's not giving it to us. But
Well, I know this is for what it's worth. I actually just started a stream over on the Xenon of this call now, just to
oh, let's see. But
yeah.
that's still running. That's still running WebMs over there.
Okay. Well, either way, if anyone's watching this, oh, I guess I wouldn't even do any good if anyone's watching this on the replay. It won't be there because this is live. So, well, either way, it is up. I thought you guys were down for maintenance, so that's why I
We
didn't
were
actually
going
start the
to,
stream. Yeah.
but a bunch of our team is in New York, like showing people Xenon, so I thought it probably wouldn't be a good idea to shut it down. So it'll stay open, and then once we update, we're gonna let you guys know, and we'll see if there's any issues with using HLS. There shouldn't be. I think it's a better format, honestly, for live streams. So seems a little more optimized.
cool.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying the platform. So I mean, I haven't used it a whole lot, but for the bits that I have, it's just been I mean, from a user's perspective, seamless and flawless, and just works. So
Nice. I'm
Yeah,
excited. Thanks, guys.
of course. Yeah, I threw a ton of different little experiments at it, and they all came through really, really well. It's awesome.
Nice. I have a little alpha if you guys want it on like the future. So I'm the whole point of this is to give kind of creators and artists the tools to like facilitate exclusive experiences to their audience. So at some point after we go to mainnet, because we're basically just releasing an MVP to mainnet, we have a lot of features kind of lined out that we want to add. But one priority for me is to allow a streamer to insert a contract address for a Ethereum NFT and specify a discounted credits per minute rate for holders of that. So we'll, use some Alchemy API and basically compare and do a balance check on whoever's address is trying to view a stream. And if they hold this token, then they'll get the discounted credits per minute that the creator specified when he set up the stream. I think that'll be a really cool feature for artists that already have communities that hold their NFTs. Give them an opportunity, give them the tools to kind of give a exclusive experience.
and it's a really actual good use case for NFTs in my opinion.
Right,
it's not
right.
just
Because I mean,
buying a
imagine if
JPEG.
for me, it's imagine if I make 3D art and Blender and stuff, and I follow some creators that help me with the tutorials or whatever. But imagine if you own this creator's NFT and he's like, hey, every Thursday I do a free tutorial session on Xenon for holders of this contract address or these multiple contract addresses. And then it's kind of giving back to your supporters,
For
Yeah,
sure.
that sounds like a great idea.
And then last
Yeah.
question for me: do you think there's any benefit from integrating a fiat on ramp to Xenon, if that's even possible?
We actually were talking. There was some Arbitrum fiat on ramp that recently released, and we were talking with them. I'm sort of degen, and I don't like to KYC.
Dang.
So I haven't tested out their product, but I'm probably gonna have to kind of. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a benefit for that. It's kind of I mean, on right now we're dealing with we realized during the testing that having one credit admin address that moves the credit around when you sign isn't enough throughput for if everybody drops off of the stream all at once. Because we do the credit transfer when somebody disconnects from a stream, and the withdrawals are frozen until you disconnect. And so basically we realized that we don't have enough throughput with one credit admin, so we're having to implement this really crazy admin pooling system that can scale, and we can scale it as needed. But it's it's one of the downfalls of having the whole credit or the credit contract as a public blockchain ledger. It would be so much easier if it was just a database that kept tabs on people's credits. But since we're building on Arbitrum and we want everything to be transparent and all our fees to be very transparent, we have the updated contract will have a function to call to where you can query the contract for what the credit fee is, what the percent fee is for viewing, so that everything's very transparent. And it's just the blockchains aren't very fast databases. They're very reliable databases, but not very fast. And so we're working on the new contract right now where we have a pool of addresses that have admin over credits, and our backend will talk to those and automate that process for us. But it's been a lot of diagrams.
Cool. Sounds like progress, though. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah, we're hoping to go to mainnet in the next month. So
Awesome.
yep.
I'm proud to be a early beta tester on that on it. So
Let's go. Yeah, and we'll be, like I said, like in the beta, like we'll be rolling out. I think you call it A/B testing. I don't know the real word for it, but um, kind of the people that are on that list of addresses for beta testing will get features kind of rolled out a week or two in advance before they go to the public.
Nice.
let's break them first before you release them to everyone, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why.
All right, I just want to switch over to Jason. Welcome. Haven't seen you here in a while. Just want to say how you doing, and did you want to introduce yourself? And do you have any topics or what's going on today? Well, we can't hear you, Jason. It's probably one of those like leave and come back, and we'll hear you. Can you guys hear him? Anyone?
Nope.
I'm sure I'll need. Let's get it back up here.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Now we
Yes.
can hear you. Yes. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, guys, yeah, it's kind of been. I think I was on the last weekly chat when there was like a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just, yeah, I was just listening, but yeah, I'm Jason and I run like Everest Node. Uh, well, I think most of us know each other here because like we've been here like an year plus, I think. Yeah, and yeah, I just joined quite late. I was just doing some like coding and stuff, but yeah, I'm like I'm here to listen and like you guys are having like a good conversation on the new product testing and stuff, and it was good to hear all that.
And how's your node running? Everything going smooth over there for you?
Yeah, the Nitro has been like really good. Like, uh, it's the one of the best updates for Arbitrum now, so it's going good. And I think my one of the EU nodes is having issues with like the errors getting like Orchestrator busy all the time. I don't know why. Like I tried to restart it, like I've updated the node and all, but
Are you running a T separately for that, or is it an O/T?
no, it's a O/T.
Yeah, I've noticed a couple of those on some nodes lately too, and I can't figure out if it's like a hardware issue on our boxes that's like
I
intermittent or if it's live pure.
I think it's one of those test profiles that's kind of acting funky. That's my
Gotcha.
two. I've seen a few people talk or report that in just in Discord, and I've seen it. I haven't really been like going through my logs like I used to crazy, but I have been
Same.
able to find some of those. But I tend to notice them on. Usually it's the low bit rate profile, which has been like for me just an issue since it first came out. It used to really affect Singapore the most, but I did see it spread for a while, and it usually is preceded by segments coming in out of order. So I don't know why that would be profile related, but I also do know the person that made that low bit rate profile is no longer with LivePeer. So I, I'm not saying that that's not. I don't think that's why he's no longer here, but I think it's also part of the reason that it's harder to get someone to look at it. I've brought it up in the past, but I haven't really pushed it too hard. But it's a fairly wide, wide problem that from what I can tell. So I don't think it's specific to anyone's setup. I think it's just kind of like one of those like oh, it's a broadcast error like that we used to say when there was
And
no solution for it.
And I remember like it started like maybe a week ago, like week and a half maybe, because I have like the Loki and Promptail like getting the logs, and I check there once in a while just for the errors like for the light peer related, and it would be mostly empty. Sometimes it would get like EOF with the like a IP address, but nothing like more errors. But then like a week and a half, I've been just like I've been getting bombarded
Yeah,
orchestrator busy
and
to that.
that's what I've noticed too. It started a while back, then it stopped, and then I feel like over the last like week or so they've been popping back up, and
Yeah, I do feel like Orchestrator busy can be a server issue as well. You said you're running Loki and Promptail. Is the node that you're running in Europe, is that a beefy node? Does it have a
Yeah,
decent amount of RAM?
yeah, it's pretty good. I got like 64 gigs of RAM just for the Arbitrum node because it was the normal like classic one because it was getting like 28, 30 gigs. Now like the Nitro uses like 2 gigs and now I have like 45 gigs just
And what
empty.
about
So
the CPU on there?
it's like a eight core, I think.
Okay, yeah, you should be fine.
Yeah, it's a pretty good like, and even like the system is pretty good and everything. I don't know, like it started recently. Like I haven't changed anything, and it started recently. So I was like, I don't know, like I haven't done anything, and it started all of its own. So I don't know what's the
Yeah,
issue. So
usually that is a good sign that LivePeer is having some fun voodoo problems.
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
And I've seen it on machines like where like the CPU usage is like 5% and like it's using like a gig of RAM out of 16 or more. So and and again, I'm not running. I mean, I am running Prometheus on that machine, but it's it doesn't seem like the machines are getting too hit too hard with requests or anything. But and again, it seems to always come up with that same profile from what I noticed. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, one time I mentioned it to Marco, and he said that if streams are coming or if segments are coming in out of order, that is what you would expect the error to be. What would cause them to come in out of order? We didn't have a solution for that or a theory on that. But I think maybe they're a little bit if they're happening so fast, and yeah, I don't know actually. I should, but they're
yeah,
yeah, I've definitely noticed a lot of problems with that profile. So it'd be interesting maybe if one of you guys with Loki and Promptail can like search and see if the before you're getting those errors, if you're seeing the low bit rate profiles coming in along with those, because maybe we can just get them to stop using that or rewrite that profile.
I could try to check like with the Prometheus. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think we can get to like maybe create a GitHub issue about it and draw some attention to it. I know that I think a while back, and I'm not sure if it was the exact same problem, but Titan posted something or made an issue about it, but I haven't seen any movement on it. So maybe if we had just a way to kind of bump that again.
yeah.
Uh, does anyone else have anything they want to add, or should we wrap this one up?
I think we can probably wrap it up.
All right, everyone's good. Pawn, you still there? Still awake? I don't know what time it is for you,
yeah,
but
I'm still here listening. Now, I just wanted to ask another question. Did anyone notice the bigger usage of RAM in VMs by any chance?
The only issues I've ever had with RAM is on servers that I'm sharing with like 3 people. That's I actually had to up my RAM in my New York node, but that's not a VM. That's just one box.
Just
But
because
I
me and Mark,
do. Yo, go ahead, Pun.
sorry, Ben. Me and Marco has run out of the RAM, but I know the Marco is running Loki, so that can be quite heavy on it as well.
Yeah, Loki's pretty intensive. How much RAM do you guys have?
8 gig.
Oh yeah, with Loki and Promptail and whatever other monitoring stuff you guys are running on there with LivePeer, that's gonna chomp out those
yeah,
8 gigs,
that sounds
especially
real
with
low.
2 people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds real low.
yeah, I had to bump mine up to 32 on my self-hosted node just to support the 3 of us that are on there.
Alright, fair enough, just because before we didn't have that problem with 8 gig.
Yeah,
I'm just
Loki's probably a big factor there. That thing's heavy.
I mean,
Alright.
VPSs can get away with a little bit less RAM because they are, sharing some resources with the host system, at least the from what I know. But yeah, eight still seems pretty slim especially if you're running 2 orchestrators on there and low key.
Well,
And
two
Prometheus, I
orchestrators.
assume too.
Yeah. Well, running 2 orchestrators on one machine with 8 gig never been a problem before.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
running a pretty slim setup, like with maybe not as much monitoring, you're usually fine.
Oh,
But it'd be interesting if you check the memory usage and see if Loki is using a significant amount.
yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research on it.
Yeah, it's like one of the main reasons I'm waiting for Zuper to put his guide together for that, just so we can run Loki off site and just run
Yeah,
Promtail on the nodes.
yeah, I'm waiting for that as well.
It's only been like 3 months.
It's all right. It's all right. Let Mike to do his magic.
Yeah.
What is the like most common price per pixel?
You mean that on the network, what most people are using?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would say it's between 1,000 and 1,200, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
kind of
keep
just
in
going
mind
off.
it's that is specific because the LivePeer broadcaster, which is currently the only one most of the time, has a like a linear accepted price. So that, yeah, that is what most people use now, is like 900 to 1200, 1150.
Okay. So if we were to specify our config to say accept or pass jobs on for 1200 way,
Yeah,
then
that'll utilize the whole network.
okay.
Yeah. And then if you wanted to run tests with a few of us, we can change our price per pixel to match whatever you want. And I know there's actually a new flag in development that will let us set price per pixel per broadcaster, so we could like put it to 0 for a new broadcaster who wants to just test it out.
Got it.
Yeah, if you want to test something, just contact one of us directly, and
Yeah,
I'm sure
or all of us.
yeah, I would say,
Oh, and then just send stuff to your org address type of thing.
Yeah, be like, hey, can
or if
you
you just want
lower
to let a
this
bunch of us
price by?
know, I'm sure a bunch of
Yeah.
us would be willing to just to lower it. And then you can, if you go through, like, let's just say we all dropped it to 500, just throwing a number out there, and then most people aren't at 500, you'll pretty much just be getting that group of people that are, fit within that parameter, because it'll throw out anyone that's over 500. So if you just wanted to.
Okay, cool. Because yeah, I think we want to test. We just want to make sure that like we're getting our M3U8 file back correctly when we're transcoding. But I think we need to test it on mainnet because it seems like possibly the testnet, like I said, doesn't have enough transcode power for us.
What
Yeah.
region would the streams be going to? Or is
I'm
it
in
different?
California, so and I'm banging out most of the test streams right now.
Okay, interesting.
Just shoot. Well, I'm trying to think.
Would
What's the best?
that be would that possibly be the reason why we're not returning the transcoded options, even though it is transcoding right now on our machine, is because of how far it is from me?
I don't think that should
Well,
have a.
Elite's in North Carolina. That's not that bad. Shouldn't be.
Right. We're not running on his now, so I think this one that my broadcast is being transcoded by is in Canada.
I mean, I personally don't think that would have a play an
It should
effect
either
into it.
work or it
Maybe,
shouldn't work. I mean, I think it's
yeah.
really odd that you're having that issue. I mean, for the most part, Livepeer is, the main broadcaster, so we don't hear a lot of issues that have come up, like, with broadcasters. But this is the first I'm hearing of anyone having this issue. So it's kind of got me thrown for a loop. I would definitely, I would create a GitHub issue over it and
Yeah,
see
if it keeps happening, once we put issues out for broadcaster kind of issues, they get solved pretty quickly. So it's great you're doing this.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I
they,
think we're gonna try to run on mainnet really quick and see what happens.
Yeah, well, just even post in the Discord, hey, you know what, we're running in mainnet. If anyone can help out and drop your price down to whatever you want, just post it in there, and I'm sure a
Okay,
bunch of us would be willing to do it.
and then
I mean,
are
I
you
certainly would be.
are you changing your guys' configs via like an API, or are you like redeploying?
What do you mean to change the pixel price?
Yeah, most of us are redeploying. There is a custom build created by Brad, who's in the audience right now, that lets you do those kinds of things through the API. I don't know if you can do that with a normal build
You're
or with
talking about,
webhooks, or
but are
like
you again?
changing the orchestrator config without having to restart and things
Oh,
like
Yeah.
that.
the whole config, but you can change your price per pixel without having to restart through the CLI.
Oh, unless you have it set as a flag though, right? And then it will probably override it.
I think only if you restart. I think it should just if you just go into the CLI and just set up, do like I think it's option 13, and just go
It'll
like the
go.
setup thing, and then you just change your price per pixel. It should just pick that up. I mean, that's what I've done for that's what I was doing for Jarvis when he was
Does
testing
that
stuff.
work for a dummy account though? If we're using the dummy account on that server,
Wow.
because it's a different CLI, right?
That's a good question. When I was doing it with him, I was on a machine that was trying to think, did that have dummy accounts or not? I think it still goes to the registered.
Okay, cool.
We can certainly play with it and try it, but I think it works, regardless.
Okay. I will reach out when we're ready.
Sweet.
Sounds good. All right.
Thank you.
Well, unless anyone else has anything else, last call. All right. Well, thank you guys for all coming. It was always good to do these water coolers, and I hope to see you guys here next week. Have a good one.
Later, guys.
See you
Guys.
later.
All right.
Bye bye.